So Nigeria is thinking about moving out of oil and holding oil in one hand, but diversifying the economy. And that is the key thrust of this two-day retreat, national economic retreat of the Udoma's Ministry of Budget and National Planning. The man who is part of the team that put this two-day retreat together is here in the studio with us, the director in charge of macroeconomic analysis at the Budget and Planning Ministry, Mr. Tunde Lawal. Good morning, sir.
Yeah,
thank you very much. We appreciate your coming. I'm sure it's been a very busy day. Putting things like this together must have taken days and weeks to try to aggregate what has been done and I tell experts to look, tear it apart and look at it, make your contributions. We need to put something back together. Walk us through this budget retreat. National economic retreat that the Budget Ministry has done.
Thank you very much indeed. You're right that it's been very hectic in the last 24 hours. But even prior to 24 hours, we've been on this, planning this retreat for several weeks now. Several background papers were prepared. Several informations were compiled. Several sectoral plans were compiled together, and we reached out to various stakeholders, both within and outside government, civil society organizations, academia, the states. All these people were part of the retreat. And let me tell you, the retreat is all about developing the national economic recovery and growth plan for Nigeria. It's built on what the government already had in stock. One or two commentators sometimes they say that they're not sure this government has whether it has economic plan. And I want to say, strictly speaking, that Mr. President, in his 2016 budget, did provided its vision and direction, in terms of economic policy direction for Nigeria in 2016 budget.
That was in December.
Yes.
He spoke at the floor of the National Assembly.
But this was also anchored on the strategic implementation plan, which is a short-term plan, for Nigeria. And in that plan, he did say in its forward, if you care, to check the forward, that before the end of 2016, Nigeria, we shall prepare a more comprehensive medium-term plan, which will also involve, consultations, and that's what this retreat, that's the purpose of the current retreats.
Yes, that's very interesting. I got where the president's statement here forward in the SIP here, which was that was in April last year.
Yes.
But again, if you look at what the president says, I'm sure you're referring to the last paragraph here, where President Buhari himself says the success of this strategic implementation plan will depend on coherent and coordinated delivery, and progress will be tracked and monitored moving forward. And he went on to speak about what your budget, your ministry, or Udoma's ministry, would do in terms of consultation with different segments of the society. That's very interesting. Now we're moving forward. Now, as far as this retreat is concerned, for 2 days, today is the second day. What do you think this will achieve at the end of the day, this interministerial, interdepartmental approach into getting the views from the outside in? Because some news are out there that the president will deliver to the nation a national economic recovery plan by December. Yes, growth plan by December.
Yes, it needs to be. This will be delivered before the end of this year. In the last 24 hours, like I told you, the stakeholders have been grouped into 5 thematic areas, starting with the macroeconomic policy. The second has to do with the diversification and growth. That's diversification of the economy and growth. The third group dealt with competitiveness. And of course, the fourth group dealt with issues of social inclusion and jobs. And finally, we have this group dealing with governance and all issues of enablers issues like infrastructure, issues like security, issues like state coordination. Because if you have these plans in place without getting the public service delivery right, obviously the plans will lead to no. So in the last 24 hours, and even as I speak now, the various groups are giving their reports back to plenary. Each group worked, differently, coming up with various suggestions on how to further enrich what we have as existing policies, and they've come up with some recommendations which are currently being presented to the plenary. We expect that at the end of today, they will come up with some kind of recommendations, and these recommendations of all the 5 groups will be harmonized and consolidated into a document, which will subsequently be taken forward to other stakeholders.
That would be your job, really, because you are one of the arrowhead of this particular retreat. So when the 5 thematic areas that you spoke about are all put together, and I've seen a number of documents, and I was part of that yesterday, quite very heavy in terms of all the key areas to be filled into. The central bank was there, the debt office was there, the Inland Revenue Service, everybody's on the table trying to make inputs into this. Now, between now and December, it looks like it's going to be a very busy time for your ministry, the Udomo's ministry, to make sure that all this come together, go to the president, and are trying to look at it. Do you think the National Assembly, the legislative arm of the government, is also being put into the know, as it were, so that we don't have a document ready, then the National Assembly says, hey, look at page 2 or page 3 or page 100, we don't seem to agree with this?
Yeah, the National Assembly is also part of this. Even the retreat, the National Assembly relevant committees were invited for the retreat, and we have plans also to consult with the national, to subject the document to consultation with the National Assembly, with the state governments, with the National Economic Council, as well as commissioners, development partners, going forward. All these are already lined up, and is going to take place beginning from next week.
In terms of the MTEF that we already have in place, that was presented to the Senate, returned to the government, and what have you, is the retreat yesterday and today looking at the MTEF as part of this document that will enhance its representation to the National Assembly?
The retreat, like I told you, several background documents were compiled. Some of the background documents includes the 2017 to 2019 MTEF and fiscal strategy paper, as well as the medium-term sector strategies 2017 to 2019 of the 14 high-spending MDAs. There were some of the background papers that will form inputs, critical inputs into the National Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. So we do expect that they will feed into the plan, and this will subsequently be passed on to the National Assembly when we consult with them going forward.
This is a lot of work for your ministry, and I'm sure 2017 budget is also there to work on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So where are we? Bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, the 2017 budget is on course, but obviously the MTEF is currently being discussed at the National Assembly. The first year of the budget will derive from the MTEF. MTEF lays out the fiscal situation in terms of it sets the ceiling for the expenditure.
The scenarios.
Yes,
and all that.
The ceiling for the expenditure and the revenues. And once that is approved, it forms the basis for preparing the budget. We have commenced work on that, and we await the approval of the MTEF. Once that is done, I'm sure we will move with speed with respect to the 2017 budget.
Okay. The folks are on edge watching you and your ministry, how much you're doing. Of course, we appreciate your coming here on the program today. Thank you very much. Mr. Tunde Lawal, Director in charge of macroeconomic analysis at the Ministry of Budgets and National Planning. The two-day retreat continues today, and you've heard what the progress has been made. The news out there this morning is that President Buhari will deliver the National Economic Recovery Plan before December, growth plan before December the 31st. That will be a major fulcrum of what you will see in the next couple of weeks, and everyone's waiting very keenly on that.